Hello and welcome to the Classic Hollywood Movie You Should Know. I'm Nate Washburn. This week the movie is from 1933, Duck Soup, starring the four Marx Brothers, Groucho, Harpo, Chico, and Zeppo, and directed by Leo McCarey. Now, Duck Soup is widely considered to be the greatest Marx Brothers film, their opus, and the one that really demonstrates their comedic genius. And I would argue that is true. It is also certainly their most anarchic. Now, the film is set in this fictional country of Fredonia. The movie begins and Fredonia is broke, so the government turns to their wealthiest citizen, Mrs. Teasdale, played by Margaret Dumont. They ask her for a bailout. They need money, and she agrees as long as they will install Rufus T. Firefly, played by Groucho, as the president/dictator of Fredonia. She believes he is the only person who can save the country from ruin. Firefly brings along his assistant, Bob Roland, played by Zeppo. Chico and Harpo play Ciccolini and Pinky, who are at first spies for the neighboring country of Sylvania, but then they kind of flip-flop. They're on Fredonia's side, then they're back to Sylvania. It's kind of wacky and bizarre. I mean, even the title of Duck Soup has no bearing whatsoever on the film itself. It just highlights the absurdity of it to call this film Duck Soup and then have it be this ridiculous satire on government. And in that critique, you can kind of boil it down to a couple main key points. Everyone in the government is a scheming liar. Nothing gets done. And the leader, the people, the person in charge is chosen by the wealthiest citizen in the country. Weird how that seems to make sense to America in 2020. That's why this movie is important. It really resonates today, just based on those three facts. Now, if you don't know, Groucho, the one with the glasses and the painted on mustache and eyebrows, he is the wisecracking con man. Chico is a schemer who plays up his Italian roots. He sort of has this really over-the-top, put-upon Italian accent and plays the role of sort of the confused immigrant who gets himself into troubling situations because he doesn't quite understand what is being said. Harpo is the id. He doesn't speak. Everything is pantomime. He basically does whatever comes to mind. He is a cyclone of energy, just exasperating everyone around him. And Zeppo, the fourth brother, he was always the straight man, the love interest in their films. So he kind of gets left behind with all the craziness of Groucho, Chico, and Harpo. And I do want to mention Margaret Dumont, who plays Mrs. Teasdale. She is top-notch. She sort of gets overwhelmed by the craziness, the zaniness that is the Marx Brothers. But she is elegant, sophisticated, and pretty much the only grounded person in this swirl of anarchy. And she steadies this film. Now, if you are a fan of the Marx Brothers or old Hollywood history in general, the story that typically gets told is that Duck Soup was a failure upon its release. It was a commercial bomb, and that's why Paramount let the Marx Brothers go. They ended up going to MGM and finding success there with their next two films, A Night at the Opera and A Day at the Races, overshadowing Duck Soup and their earlier Paramount films. Now, I read up on that as I did research for this little video, and it turns out Duck Soup was not a commercial failure, but it was a letdown from their previous film, Horse Feathers, the year before. And the critics savaged it because it doesn't have much of a story. It's just sort of these comedic bits highlighting the nonsense that is the workings of government, that is a dictator, that is fascism, and in an instance of sort of like artists being ahead of their time. Duck Soup is now, like I said in the beginning, considered the Marx Brothers' top film, and the AFI, the American Film Institute, when they did their top 100 films, the updated list in 2007 put Duck Soup at number 60. The AFI does not have that many comedies on it in general, and so to have Duck Soup be in the top 2/3 of the list is pretty incredible. So a little bit of trivia about this. Duck Soup is Zeppo Marx's final film as a performer. He had grown disillusioned with the grind of being an actor, and I mean, I don't blame him. You can even see how sort of he's a bit like forgotten as, you know, the straight man in the world of the Marxes. Think of the names in this movie. Groucho is Rufus T. Firefly, Chico is Ciccolini, and Harpo is Pinky. These are all memorable names. Zeppo is named Bob Roland, which is one of like the most generic sort of general names. It's like, oh, what are we gonna name his character? Just give him Bob Roland. So he leaves the group after this film and he becomes a successful agent in Hollywood. So do yourself a favor, watch Duck Soup from 1933. The Marx Brothers really were ahead of their time in the way that they satirize and lampoon the government. A lot of it will resonate with what is happening today. It's very funny, highly recommended. It's this week's classic Hollywood movie you should know. I'm Nate Washburn. Keep watching.